Now, from 2014, when the Affordable Care Act was actually implemented after President Obama's second election so he could get reelected, because everybody knew that once it hit, it was going to be a big problem for the healthcare industry, for American consumers, for the price of insurance. They delayed it until Mr. Obama's second election. Since 2014, from 2014 to 2017, 3 years or 4 years, however you count it, the cost of insurance has risen. It's gone up by 230%. 230%. Now, what did we get for that? We covered 6% more people. At its peak, the number of folks covered in America increased from 85% to 91%. And that's a good thing. I'm all for getting as many people as we can covered. 6% more people got covered, but at a cost of 230% premium, 130% premium increase. The other 85% had to pay more than twice as much. People say, well, a fourth of the American people have pre-existing conditions and you're threatening them. Well, I'm telling you, the vast majority of those people were covered before Obamacare ever went into effect. I am very sorry, Mr. Levin, that you have 2 grandchildren with pre-existing conditions. I have no idea what those are. I have 2 sons that also have pre-existing conditions. One has a heart defect and one had a head injury. And at no time in their lives were they ever without insurance. They were always covered by various mechanisms that allowed for people with pre-existing conditions to be covered. In South Carolina, we had a health insurance pool. That health insurance pool, for 2 years, I had those 2 children on, when they were children, on the health insurance pool, and I had to pay about 20 to 30% more for that in coverage than I would have had to pay had they gotten straight up individual policies. And I resented that. And I understand why people would resent that. But today I reflect on that and I think, wow, that was a great deal. Because now not only do I have to pay 130% more for their coverage than I did before Obamacare, I also have to pay 130% more for the rest of my family, or they do. And every other person who was covered before Obamacare cost them 130% more to cover 6% more people. I think this law, I hear complaints about it all the time from back home, that even if they can afford the coverage doesn't afford them. It affords them no benefit because the deductibles are so high and because of the restrictions on the use of the policy. So I think we can do much better. I think the House Republicans, the proposal that we passed, as CBO said, would have dropped healthcare costs by 20%, health insurance premiums by up to 20%. I think we can do much, much better than this disaster called the Affordable Care Act. I hear about it all the time back home from employers, what a strain it is on them, how it holds them back from hiring people. I hear about it all the time from people who have the policies and are so frustrated because of the lack of coverage that they are paying such an incredibly high price for. I am proud of what this committee has done to relieve their burden. I am proud of what the House has done in an attempt to try to replace this disaster of a bill called the Affordable Care Act. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Thompson, you recognize. Strike the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm